The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 10, Them. This was yet another really good episode, coming off of the last one where we got this really in-depth look at a character actually passing away, going through the mental aspect of dying and not just, here's the shock of a character, being killed off. And in this episode, and it was an amazing start to the episode, we got the real focus was on three characters, and they were the ones who start this episode off with no dialogue, by the way, which was, I think, one of the coolest things about this episode. I think, like, most of it, more than half this episode, I feel like, was no dialogue. It was mostly action, and it worked really well. And so the focus, even starting in the very beginning of this episode, was centered around Sasha, Maggie, and Daryl, and them experiencing the loss of either, siblings in Sasha and Maggie's case, or just losing someone that they were really close to in Daryl's case. And it was just really well done. We got, explanations on how the characters felt and how they were either fighting against feeling, what they knew they felt, or how they used to fight against it, how they fought against it. And this was mostly in Maggie's case, because one of the big things was, for a lot of people, why isn't Maggie really talking about Beth? Why isn't she crying over Beth or worrying about Beth? And I think they really did well in this episode explaining why we never got to see that before. And it was because she didn't want to feel that pain, because she never even believed Beth was alive. She just kind of wrote it off like she's gone, and aside from feeling, that pain from already having lost her father, she doesn't want to have to go through kind of twice as much pain. So it's like, Beth is gone, but in the sense where it's like, I'm just admitting to myself she's gone, but I don't really know. So it's like, it's an odd middle ground. Like, you accept that she probably is gone, but at the same time, you don't really know. So there's like a tiny bit of hope, and it keeps her in this, weird middle ground. And, as she put it, like, finding out that Beth was alive and then really losing her in the same day, that's what officially broke her down, because, like I said, she was going through this sort of barrier that she put up for herself. Like, I don't believe she's alive anyway, but I don't see it. I haven't really experienced it outside of we got split up, and then, that was it. So, it was really interesting. I enjoyed that sort of explanation as to why Maggie kind of acted the way that she did, where she wouldn't bring it up because she wanted to kind of sweep it under the rug. And it's a lot harder for her to do that now, because she actually saw her sister, die. But I thought that was really well done. The stuff with Sasha was really well done, and that kind of came around towards the end of the episode, where she really, I thought it was actually going to focus a lot more on Sasha. In the beginning of the episode, it has the focus on all three of them. But when they had, like, the zombie scene and Sasha was, like, really angry and upset, I thought the whole episode, like, after that point, I thought it was really going to focus on her kind of getting over her rage, because she had one of the greatest moments in this episode, I believe. Probably the greatest moment during that whole zombie scene. And it started off, it was really simple. And instead of just kind of doing the dodging technique that everyone else was doing because they're incredibly tired, she was angry and she wanted to take out, her rage on these zombies. So she's attacking the zombies, and then everyone else kind of has to join in. And she just lost it. Like, she almost stabbed Michonne. That was a crazy scene. Like, she was freaking out and she almost stabbed Michonne. Then they really flew right past this, but when she cut through the zombie's neck, and then she cut Abraham's arm, which I don't know if he's infected now or what, but I would think if you cut through, anything on a zombie, and then you cut through someone else with, the same knife, and the blood is still right on that blade, wouldn't they get infected even if it's a tiny cut? Like, he's cut open, and so that blood is mixing with his blood. I don't know if they're gonna kind of go that route with things, and I don't know, like, they try to do it like where it affected him. It took much longer because it was such a small amount or whatever. But I would think that would affect his character. That would turn him into a zombie, because technically that's what it is. It's like if it gets in your eyes and it's in your system like that, then you become a zombie still. You will get sick and then die from the virus and come back. So I don't know if they're going to do anything, because that would, of course, be another big step for Sasha's character, where she'd have to realize that because of her anger in that state where she was trying to act as if she was perfectly fine and that she wasn't, really just like her brother, that she wasn't angry and this and that, and then of course she completely lost it and was just like destroying zombies. And really, she almost stabbed Michonne. Like I said, she cut Abraham. She almost got a couple of people killed, I believe. And it was just crazy. Like, Rick for sure was about to be killed, and I guess he was the only other person. But all of that was really her fault. Like, if she just kind of stuck to the plan, they're doing their little ninja dodging techniques and throwing all the zombies off off the road. If she stuck to that, it would have been perfectly simple. But if something does happen to Abraham, it is her fault, and she'll have to deal with that. But it was cool to see her have that moment. That was definitely intense. I thought it was just really insane. Like, it showed it. And I keep coming back to the Michonne thing, but that was the one. It's like, it wasn't like a little crazy moment when she cut Abraham, which was still a big moment. And even he brushed it off because he's just like a badass character, like, oh, you cut me. And he's like, he kind of just looked at her and then kept going. But when she almost stabbed Michonne, like, Michonne stopped her, and then she actually spoke to her. It was like, stop. Like, you're losing it. You don't understand what's happening right now. And she even pushed her down before she killed, like, the final zombie off. She just pushed her to the ground and then, like, chopped off the zombie's head and was like, I told you to stop. Like, you don't see what's going on. You're losing it. And you're angry. You are just like your brother. And, Sasha was basically fighting against it. Like, we're not the same at all or anything like that. But she really is just like Tyrese. He was very angry when he lost the one woman, I can't think of her name, but he was angry when he lost her. Him and Rick had a huge fight, and he was really angry. And Sasha is in the same, she's in that same area, especially, having lost Bob, she was kind of sad, and then it's like her losing Tyrese. On top of that, took her out of the sad place and took her to, like, just, a place where she wasn't ready to go. Like, she was just enraged. But by the end, she kind of worked through it and realized she is a lot like her brother. She has to work through the rage just like he had to work through it. And I don't think she's going to end up being the same character. I know they're not exactly the same, but in that aspect where, mentally they just go into, like, sort of a pure rage because someone so close to them, was killed off. And, seemingly just, for no reason, really. It just happened. But having worked through that, she's going to become, she really will become a different character. I'm sure she isn't going to be like Tyrese, where he didn't want to really fight anything anymore. He didn't even want to kill zombies unless he really had to, which he only did during the Baby Beth scene. But, she'll have worked through it, and she won't, like I said, I doubt she'll be like that, where she won't kill anything anymore. And she definitely hasn't gotten to that point yet, like in the scene with the dogs, which I thought was going to be a huge scene, because in the preview it was like, oh, they get attacked by wild dogs, which I thought was really cool, by the way, because we haven't seen any other animals. We've only seen, like, zombies or humans. But I thought it was actually really cool. Like, they got attacked by wild dogs. They sort of got attacked. The dogs came out. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a cool scene. They're going to have to fight wild dogs. And everyone's, like, taking out their knives and stuff. And it's just like, and they're done. Like, that's it. Let's eat some dogs. So, she hasn't gotten there yet. But it'll be interesting to see how her character does change now that she's accepted the fact that, at least in some ways, she is just like her brother. She got really angry like he did. And now she has to kind of move on and adjust with his loss compounded with the loss of Bob. So I thought it was really well done how she kind of came around, and it was like she went into the mode where she was like Tyrese. And then she realized that that's exactly what Tyrese did, and she has to work through, that rage, because it doesn't help anyway. It didn't help Tyrese when he did it. I feel like it was even worse when she did it, because it was during such a deadly moment where it's like everyone's really tired because they're trying to get water, they're trying to get food and stuff. So I feel like, just circumstance wise, it was a bit more dangerous when she did it. So it was definitely nice to see her realize that by the end of the episode, and say, like, I have to realize I am a bit like him, but not 100%, and I'm not sure if I can make it. And that's, she put it, that's how she felt. And, of course, Maggie helped her at the end. Like, everyone just helps everyone at the end. But I thought that was really well done. And then the stuff with Daryl was definitely great with him, really, he was the one I feel like who fought against it the most, because with Sasha, it was like, she was in this state where, like I said, it was, she lost Bob, and then she lost her brother right after, and they, kind of showed it again in this episode, in the sort of recap. When she's at the funeral, she's just completely distraught. Like, she's just, like, off somewhere. She's physically moving, but mentally it's just like, I don't really know where I am or exactly what's going on. But with Daryl, it's like he's there 100%. He saw what happened. He was emotional in that moment. Like, as soon as it happened, he was the one who killed the woman off after she shot Beth, and he was the one who carried Beth out. He was there 100%. He wasn't just like it happened and it sort of took him out. He had like a out of body experience. He was there 100%, but he just denied everything that he felt, and he had a really great moment where he officially broke down. Like, he decided he had to feel the pain that he knew was there, and he did. And by the end, he kind of recuperated himself, and it was just simply, I have to have a moment by myself, and I have to, deal with it. And I thought that was really well done as well. Him, like, even, like, just before that, like, physically, he wasn't even feeling anything. He puts the cigarette out on his own hand, and it's like, even physically, he's kind of just denying everything that's happening to him. So I thought it was a nice little moment for him, and it was just really well done. And by the end, all three characters have at least in some way moved on. Maggie also had a really great scene when they had the car and she opened up the trunk and there was a zombie in there. That was also a really great scene when she was gonna lose it and she like pulled out a gun and she was gonna shoot. She was gonna shoot the keys just to get the keys out, because that was kind of her breaking point when she saw that, and it was just like, it was almost pointless. Like, what is the zombie in here for? Why? How did this person die? Was this person locked up before? Were they locked up after they were bit? All of these questions and stuff, and it was just like, you just have to see it and deal with it. So they all had some really great moments. I love that whole point of it, and like I said, a lot of this episode felt like there was no dialogue, and it also felt incredibly long to me. Like, I watched it on DVR. Obviously, this is super late, but I watched it on DVR, and it felt like, even fast forwarding through commercials, it still felt like it was an hour long. It could have just been me doing other stuff, but it felt like this episode was just really long, and maybe it was because there was so much stuff that happened without dialogue. It felt like it lasted a lot longer to me. But I thought it was really cool, like the opening scene when they don't say anything and they're just searching for the water. And I also thought that this sort of dry ravine where all those dead frogs were, I thought that was going to be a big part of the story as well, because I figured something serious had to have happened for this water to just dry up, and there were like just dead frogs on the ground. It wasn't like they were eaten by zombies or anything. They were just random dead frogs. I thought that was going to be a big part of the story, but that didn't happen either. And it might actually be a big part of the story. That water could be, I don't know how that would work, but it could be getting drained from somewhere else, and that's how the guy towards the end of the episode was able to give them all that water. And that was another really big point of the episode, which I didn't expect to get answered. I figured it was just going to be like, oh, they got, this random stash of water, and it would be like, from a friend, and then that was going to be it, and there would be like nothing else. But it was cool that they kind of introduced the actual character towards the end of the episode, and I'm pretty sure I know exactly where that's going in the comic books, and I won't spoil that, but it's fairly similar where a character in the comic books does follow the group for a little bit, because that's kind of what that character does for his people, and determines whether or not they're actually good or not. So I thought that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. It'll be nice to see if that is exactly what it leads to within the next couple episodes. And it seems like it actually might, based on like that one little picture we saw in the preview. I think I know where they're going to be headed, so I'm really excited for that. Another really great thing we got from the comic books was Rick saying that we are the Walking Dead. That was a really big thing that initially happened for the comic books. It happened when they were in the prison, and it was during that really big speech that Rick had, and that was one of the big things that a lot of people noticed who did read the comic books. During that really big speech, he didn't say, we are the Walking Dead, so they kind of saved that from the prison arc, from the comic books, and they brought it over to this arc where they're kind of in between spaces between the prison and where they're going next. And I won't bother spoiling any of that stuff, but I thought that was really cool. It was a nice little touch. It wasn't like the giant speech like it was in the comics, because it was, they did actually do that speech in the prison. He just didn't end it that way. But it was cool. It was, I guess it was a bit more somber and a bit more reflection in the way he did it in this episode. And I actually enjoyed that. Like, he started off with a story of, I believe he said his grandfather who was in the war and stuff like that. And I thought it was really well done. And in the comic books, that's kind of how that chapter ends. Like, he ends the really big speech like, we are the Walking Dead. Like, this is the craziness that's happening and we're the Walking Dead. But in this, they kind of counter it with Daryl instantly saying, like, you know, we're not them. And I thought it was really cool. Like I said, as a comic reader, it was sort of the opposite of what it was before. Like, everyone accepted that, you know, in the comic books. And in this version, it was like, you know, no, we're not. Like, we have to exist and stuff like that. And even Rick said, like, you know, we're not, but it's kind of just the way things are right now. We are the Walking Dead, but we are not, you know, zombies. We're not them. And I really enjoyed that. And of course, the whole, you know, sort of team effort type sort of scene towards the end with, like, the storm coming in and all the zombies trying to get into the barn, I thought that was really cool. And once again, not really any dialogue. Like, and of course, the first three people were Maggie, Daryl, and Sasha, so that was really cool. And then everyone else kind of joined in afterwards. But it was great. Like, that was one of those scenes, once again, where there was really no dialogue. There were sound effects and stuff, and mostly it was just zombies and, you know, thunder, and that was it. And them trying to push on the door, but none of the characters were saying anything. They were all just running to the door and trying to hold the barn so that they could survive through the night. And it was just really well done. I love the episode. I'm really excited because, you know, what we may or may not be getting in the next couple of episodes, possibly in the season finale, because we're, I'm not sure how many episodes we are away, but it's episode 10, so we probably have like 8 or so more episodes, something like that. But I love this episode. It was like another, it wasn't as artistic as the last one, where it was a lot of, you know, like hallucination stuff and sort of flash forwards and, you know, little bits and pieces, like this scene is in the future but we think it's in the past and stuff like that. It wasn't done in that style, but it was definitely a great artistic episode. Like, I can't mention enough how much I really noticed the lack of dialogue in this episode, and a lot of just sheer action, you know, through the characters that displayed emotion, and it was just incredibly well done. So I really love this one. Like, this and the last episode, I think, are probably two of my favorites as far as just how much they really make you think about what the characters are going through. Like, we've had some other great ones where they've done that, but this one, especially considering it focuses on 3 separate characters and they all have their own moments where there's really no dialogue. Sasha had the moment where she kind of went crazy. Maggie had kind of 2 moments. One where she was at the car, and the other was like her very first scene where she was just sitting by a tree and crying, and then she like kills a zombie and then just goes right back to sitting down. Daryl had his scene as well, and it was just incredibly well done. So of course I love this episode, so please comment below, let me know what you guys thought about this one, your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And, you know, I don't want to have too many spoilers in the comments, but what do you guys think that this friend, you know, will kind of lead them to? Like, whether you've read the comics or not, you obviously have some speculations as to whether or not it's good or bad. So I want to know what you guys think, because as a comic reader, I believe I know where it's going, and it's pretty good. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that, but I want to know what you guys thought. Once again, sorry this is a long review. I've been doing that like crazy lately, but for whatever reason, all my shows I feel like have just been jam-packed full of content, so I had to do another long review. But please comment below, let me know, and of course, thanks for watching.